Okay, let's look at other things that can be built with ProBuilder. So I am going to go to my New Shape um, button, and actually I'm going to, I need to let you know that there's actually a couple of different ways that this button works, depending on whether you click the button, as I am doing here, or if you're clicking this plus sign, which will bring up a panel. So you may have noticed as I clicked the button repeatedly that I ended up with multiple shapes just being created, and the default shape will actually be whatever the last shape created in the ProBuilder um, shape tool was. So building a cube is a good thing. This cube is different than a Unity cube. So I'm going to get rid of some of those extra cubes. Boom. And let's just focus on this cube right here. I'm going to reset it so it's at 0, 0, 0. I'm going to go look at that and bring my view over just a little bit. Maybe frame this view a little bit better. And that'll have to do. Okay. So with our object here at 0, 0, 0, we can see that it is very much like a normal Unity default cube, in that I can, go shaded, or if well, I guess it's really difficult to see the wireframe like that with the color choices I have. So I'll go to shaded wireframe, and we have the two triangles per side. So we have different faces. We have the top face, left facing, right facing, and if I were to flip it, bottom, back left, back right. But we can only see the faces that are right now facing the camera. And you may have noticed that these buttons here actually did something. If I go ahead and choose edge, I can do something with the edge of this cube. Or I can take this vertex and do something with that vertex. Now, the things that I just did using the move tool, probably, not what I want to do right off the bat. But if I am working with object mode, then I'm pretty much working with the almost the exact same way that we would be working with just a Unity primitive. I'm going to move this off just a little bit. I'm going to bring a Unity primitive in. And notice it looks pretty similar. It just has a different material. But if I click on face, the Unity primitive doesn't behave like a ProBuilder cube. So even though they are, the 8 vertices and 6 faces and what is it, for 12 edges, they are very different because this cube from ProBuilder knows more than this cube from the Unity primitive. So let me get rid of that cube. Let me bring this cube back to where it belongs at 0, 0, 0. And we just need to go over a couple of things about moving this cube around. So if I am in object mode and I have my move tool up here, I can move my object just as we would normally. Let me undo those. Let me redo that. Okay. If I have rotate, I can rotate this cube just like I could normally. Undo, undo, undo. Right now, this cube is rotating around its center point. So Unity is figuring out, based on where all the faces are, where would be the middle in world space of that. I'm going to come over here and toggle the tool position, and it might be easier to see if it moves between center and pivot. When a mesh is created, the mesh doesn't have to rotate around its center. We can establish, or your 3D artist can establish, a point which will act as the origin where all other vertices will be rotated around that. So as we can see right now, the ProBuilder's local pivot point is in the lower corner of this cube, given its current orientation. Now, that doesn't matter much for moving, necessarily. I mean, it might help us line things up a little bit more easily. But I'm going to go back to center and look at rotate. And I'm going to rotate about the x-axis because I can see this is the red gizmo. And I shouldn't hold down my Alt key because that's going to rotate the seam camera. Whoops, let's bring that back. So if I rotate right now, I'm rotating about the center of the cube. Or if I rotate around the y-axis. Now I'm getting this chunkier rotation because I'm holding down my control key. And it's rotating about its center. So if I don't hold down the control key, we can see a nice smooth rotation as well. If I change the pivot point from center to pivot, now when I rotate around the X, it's going to rotate around its edge there because the pivot is on that lower edge. If I rotate around its Y, it's going to do a flat spin on the current surface because its pivot point is now at the bottom of the object, not in the middle of the object. Okay, so again, if I'm in the center and I rotate, I stay where I am in the world, and I'm just rotating about my center. But if I rotate about the pivot point and I rotate, now I'm actually, the act of rotating is like, imagine standing up and keeping your left big toe in one place and moving your right leg to try to walk while your left big toe can't move. So you're kind of forced to rotate around that point. So this gives us some different ways to work with these objects. I'm going to stop this video for right now. When we come back, we're going to look at move and scale and rotate with respect to some of our other options.